I really believe when Maynard Jackson first took office, I really believe he had good intentions. But after he got in office and served 4 years, he and his associates became money thirsty. And the elected officials of Atlanta began to feed the black community economic crumbs. That major money went to those white establishments. And I'm convinced that they promised Matt Jackson and his associates a viable economic future, but the masses of the blacks was left out, and the whites still controlled, I would say, 85% of the money that's made in the city. And it has been kept in line. It didn't change when Andy Young became mayor. And it didn't change when Bill Cameron became mayor. And it has been hurting because you realize you never had a mayor in Atlanta that was raised in Atlanta. Every single one of them was migrants. And they didn't know how Atlanta should have became Atlanta. I don't guess they're interested. But the black community in Atlanta, Georgia, which for ages was one of the richest black communities in America, today is one of the poorest communities. And it was done under black dominated control administrations. If you go down there now, it's just hard for a black company to get a contract from the city. A few black companies, they pick just a few, and those are the ones close to the mayor. But the masses of black companies, they are totally left out. We were discussing the Washington movement, Poor People Campaign in Washington. And that afternoon, we were in the meeting, and someone said, Reverend Billy Kyles is outside, and he's upset. And Dr. King said, oh, my God, I forgot to tell y'all. I promised his wife, who's supposed to be a great soul food cooker, we'd have our feet on her table at 5:30. Now it's 5:45, and we sit in the meeting. Dr. King said, everybody rush, rush, rush. And get ready in a hurry. Let's go. So I ran down and got to my room. My key wouldn't open my door for some strange reason. The limousine that had been loaned to us, I opened my door. I could touch the limousine. And finally I heard the driver tell Dr. King, Dr. King, I advise you get your top coat, because even though I have the car on, it's still chilly. And the last words he said in this world, okay, Jonesy, I'll get my top coat. And I heard this thing say, pow! And I honestly thought someone had thrown a firecracker into the air. And I looked around to rebuke whoever was that stupid. And I heard something, bloop, fell up above my head. And I looked up, and his leg was sticking through the rail. Dr. King only wore one type of sock and one type of shoe. And I knew that was him. I said, oh, my God, they got it. And then I had to run about 50 feet down and back up, and I got to him. And Ralph was holding his head, and Andy was there. And a guy from Africa who had been traveling with us as a newsman from Africa. We found out later on he was working for the CIA. No, the FBI, working for the FBI. And he'd taken a lot of pictures of Dr. King. And I grabbed him in the throat. I just started choking him, because the bullet hit Dr. King right here. And it went round and cut his medulla oblongata. And I didn't want people to remember Dr. King with half his face shut off. So Andy ran and got a towel. And somehow or another, they took one more picture after I made him empty that camera. And it shows Dr. King down with a towel on his face. This is a copy of his first newspaper. He just put out his own newspaper. He was trying to speak to the nation about poor people. And he got one copy out. We've been trying to get a newspaper out for 3 years. We just, got enough equipment. These are his belongings, shaving powder. Then I wonder whether America had really lost its last chance.
This day will be the most unforgettable day in my whole life. It's a day that I still have not believed. I still not can believe somebody's crazy enough to kill Dr. King, who wouldn't hurt anybody, but loved everybody, and really gave his life to the salvation of this nation.
But I still want to know where all this money went.
He keeps saying in this article, Pat, I wouldn't talk. He sent me a letter. You know what was in the letter? How much of the church's money was spent in politics. I said, fool, if I spent some of the church's money in politics, you think I'm going to tell you? And so I told him on my show, and I'm going to tell him on your show, Atlanta Constitution, go to hell. And I know this newspaper is owned by the richest woman in the world, Miss Cox. Miss Cox, y'all trying to get me go to hell. Now, you didn't even know. What you trembling about, boy?
I'm scared. I don't like to see you talk to white folks like that.
What? You don't like what?
I don't like to hear no black man talk to white folks like that.
Standing up, speaking out for what I believe. I want to ask you something. Now, you so smart, and you think you smart.
No, I don't think I'm smart.
Yeah, you do.
I'm the dumbest fool I know.
If you don't have dignity, and that's what Jesus had. That's what Martin Luther King Jr. had. That's what I try to have. Now, you can't have it. Can y'all show these shoes?
They see you.
All right.
But Pat, where you get those shoes? Where you get those shoes?